Mobility, flow, and balance today. We're going to kick off on a slightly different pattern. Grab your foam roller, become one with your roller. Okay. However, you're getting down on the floor these days, do something different. Right. You saw me just switch legs. It's such a pattern to break. There we go. It's not about breaking a pattern. It's about trying to um, let yourself do it the other way. Okay. So first and foremost, settle your little rump on your foam roller. Ooh, ah. That is what I hope your body says. Ah, right? And maybe as you're programming yourself to receive the sensation and go, ah, right? That we're trying to change the mind, right? The feeling of going, oh, right? So it's such a difference. I realize that you might be sensitive. I also realize that literally just trying to get your hand to support you may send a trigger of things where it's hard for you to stay focused on what's happening through the backside of your hip. If your body is square like this, right, where you're not slightly cockeyed, you're going to have a hard time getting comfortable. Every few little rock and rolls back and forth, your body's kind of creeping up the mat. So just know that you may have to reset yourself, but if need be, come down on your elbow with the mind that you've got to keep your shoulder and elbow tracking, like see how far my elbow is from my armpit. That is creating even more stress than probably what you felt when you were resting on your hand. So your body rock here is going to be a couple of inches, right? Not so great that you're pushing and pressing to in the wrong spot. Why don't we get the foam roller out every day, right? I don't know. I leave literally I leave all my stuff out. Not only do I have the, luxury of rich not caring, right? But upstairs has got the whole my little gadgets, switch hips, my little gadgets of treating the swing machine, the thoracic spine stretcher, the cervical spine stretcher, the little lymphatic leg sleeves. I mean, you walk in here and the only thing that's missing from this setup is the actual physical therapist like table. And whoever designed that was brilliant because it's about, I don't know, 16 inches off the floor and it's practically the size of a queen size bed. I would love to have one of those in here. That goes on my wish list. Anyway, what are you feeling? Do you have a little hot spot somewhere? I just found one in my right derriere. I rolled over it and I was like, wow, what is that? Right? Because you can have tenderness, but there's a difference between being a little tender and then hitting that spot where you're like, oh, that's something. So if you're here and your neck has been swallowed up, right? Gobbled up. Sandy likes that word, right? Did your neck get gobbled up by your shoulders? Is your wrist bothering you? Right? Do you need your hand on the floor? No, you don't. But you have to find some way to not fall off the foam roller, right? It is amazing. So, because my body receives this, and because I know how good the actual what the benefit is of doing this, my body welcomes the feeling. Yours may be a little less receptive to it. Do you need to knuckle down, right? So you can really get in there. How much surface area are you trying to cover? That is a personal thing. You decide, how do you keep these other parts of you, shoulder and wrist, from feeling like they're being, taxed too much. And now, phase 2, I'm going to keep flipping myself from end to end just so that I can have the side that I'm treating on the screen. Okay. So you just rolled your piriformis. Now I want you to think QL. So that's our waistline area, right? As someone in my Tuesday morning class has labeled that QL as your love handle, which, that's not necessarily a bad way to think about where to put your body on the foam. What do your legs do? What's your shoulder doing? Right? So with your QL, you might not have to even lift your hips from the floor. But if you can, you're starting at your waistline and you're going a little bit lower. So it's between the piriformis and the waist, right? And maybe once you lift up off the floor, depending on how slidey your clothes are, right? You might find that this is a little bit more of a fight. But again, protecting your shoulder by pressing the elbow into the floor, trying to prop yourself up. Your feet, spread them out. Let your feet help you with your body leverage. If you go too low and you get back down into the piriformis and the backside of your rump, then you're missing out on the QL. Okay. So frankly, just lifting the hips and letting your body weight push into the foam, that might be enough treatment. For me, I can go further. And so what I'm going to do, it's going to seem a little weird. I'm going to take it a little bit lower, and then I'm going to use my legs and I'm going to support with the other hand and I'm going to roll. So this is called cross fiber manipulation. Okay. So you have this thing when you come across the top aspect of your hip crest, so much gets tight in there. Okay. So it might take you a little bit to figure out just where to get in the right spot so that you can roll. Once you hit it, you'll know, because your eyes will kind of open up and you'll be like, I didn't even know that that spot existed, right? And then set down. The thing about foam rolling, and I really think that this is a contributor to why we don't do it more often. I'm just going to keep flipping back and forth, like I mentioned, so that I can have my treating side facing the screen, is it's not just the area that's getting the pressure on the foam, it's that the whole rest of your body has a job. And the specific job, right, that your support base is creating for you is often really taxing. It's hard to keep yourself propped up on your elbow. There's this uncomfortableness about having to bridge your hips up a little bit and leverage your body. Do you want to go up and down a couple of inches, right? Are you just so tight that you're just pressing your body weight into it? Can you find the next little spot where you push just a little bit? You could even take the side that's being treated, lengthen the leg, wait for it, and then roll into it. This extra little rolling, it's just more fibering. We're just treating more of the fascia, right? And in a way that you can't really find a static stretch. So I keep moving. Every time I roll forward, I actually am creeping up my mat a little bit because my body is seeking the sweet spot for the sensation, and I'm on it, right? So these are all considered like part of the insertion points into that hip. If you're able to get here, there is definitely a greater level of intensity as you roll into it, okay? And maybe you get right on the top of the hip, right? And you just start, I want to say, kind of grinding down on it, right? It's gnarly. Okay, and release. Shake it off. How about we do something nice and gentle that I've never come across anybody who doesn't love this next thing. As you're getting yourself set up, because you have no idea where I'm getting ready to take you, I want you to know that we're going to get into bridge position. We're going to slide the foam under us, and we're going to let our hip flexor start getting it stretched. So you may want to have your pillow or your towel handy, although I wouldn't start with assuming that your neck needs that, because once we get our hips lifted, often we don't need the extra little pillow support, right? So how do you do this? Get yourself centered on your mat, bridge the derriere, navigate that foam under your body. Oh, pull it, pull it. How hard is it to slide the foam up? Did you come through the space at the low back? Like just contortioning your hands under your body to get that foam where it needs to be. Okay. Let me just say, I am aware that not everybody has the 3-foot length foam roller. That's okay. Your foam roller can be that smaller size, and still this will be perfect for you. So what are you doing now that your hips are high? Just make sure that you don't have your pillow unnecessarily under your head. Your chin should be gently drawing to your chest naturally because your hips are in supported bridge. The thing about where your foam is, we do not want the foam at the waistline or that, I just forgot what I was just calling that, because the love handle. Like I don't generally refer to that QL area as the love handle, but if it's all the way up there, then you're actually overemphasizing what would be an S curve. You don't want that foam at your waistline. So pull the belly in, squeeze the buns, slide the foam down just a little bit, okay? And then you're going to start by giving me an alternating lifting leg. Why? Sometimes just trying to get comfortable on your apparatus takes a few repetitions of something, because I want you to go, okay, no fear, I'm secured on my foam, nothing to be afraid of, right? While you're doing this marching leg, I'm sneaking some of our core stabilization work in here. Okay, so the leg that stays in the down position, push it down firmly into the floor and see if that doesn't start recruiting the hamstring on that down leg. I would venture to make this very bold statement that if you are not in pelvic tilt when you push that leg down, you will actually feel it in your back. So this is really important, okay? The leg comes down, the other leg comes up, pull your belly in, squeeze your bun on the down leg, drive that down foot into the floor, make sure your abs are in, your chin is drawn, you're looking at your legs, right? Here we go. Switch legs, hold it up. The leg that's lifted, is the foot just like limply hanging? That lower limb from the knee to the foot actually has a job, and you want to elevate that foot until it comes just into your sight line over the top of the knee. Not straight, it's bent, but you can barely see the toes peek right there. And now, navel to spine, pelvic tilt. The ribs are sliding down to the waist. The foot that's on the floor is in full activation. And here's your holding position. Why, pray tell, would this be an important move to do? Feel what's happening. Static load, time under tension, hamstring is fired up, abs are engaged. This is part of your core stabilization. And this might be the only time today that we bring any frame of mind to what our bun is supposed to be doing. Release the tension, switch legs. Here we go. Set it up. The foot that's on the floor, pull that baby back until you're like, oh, there is a muscle under there. And now that the foot is pulled back, let the toes on the high foot peek out. And now that you're getting ready to push, don't push until you've done the body check. Ribs down, zip up through the lower abdominal muscle, press the foot to the floor, squeeze the derriere, right? Push, push. This is such a controlled position, right? And yet it doesn't seem like it should be challenging, but it is. What is your body telling you right now? Do you feel like your big toe is also part of your push on that down leg? It should be full foot pressure, as if you were trying to elevate your hips from your foam without losing that nice slab-like torso. 5, 4, 3, 2, stop pushing. Now, gently raise both knees towards your chest. Here's where you get to decide, oof, this is tricky, because if your knees rock into your body, if the foam isn't in the right spot, you'll feel like the foam is going to shoot out from under you. Okay, so some of you that have the longer foams, you'll just be able to secure your hands around the ends of it, right? Not gripping it, but just know that you can keep it from moving. And but in your most ideal position, you'll be comfortably supported. So much so that the knees can come to you, and you can actually get a little bit more of a stretch here than what you would get if you were flat trying to pull your knees to your chest. You get to allow gravity to pull you. You might, the closer your knees come to your body, you might feel like, ooh, I need to anchor that foam. Maybe your knees need to separate because the body mass of the thigh and the trunk kind of are hitting each other, and you feel like you could go further, but not with your legs together. Let the knees separate, pull it apart, and see how close you can get. And now we're going to push out of it a little bit. One leg is going to go to its full stretch, right? And then you're going to take all the tension out of the knee, let the foot go wherever it wants to go. That's it. This other leg, you can keep holding your foam, or you can pull that leg to you. Whether you're holding across the knee, behind the thigh, not holding at all, that other down leg is benefiting from gravity doing its job. But the ankle, right? Ankles are relaxed. The knee is soft. All right. Keep the high leg, bring the down leg up to meet it. Every couple of like leg position transitions that we go into, your job is to evaluate, is the foam moving into the wrong position? And that's something that I can just remind you about, right? You don't want the foam up in the spine. You don't want it so low that you feel like it's going to flop out from under you. You've extended the other leg, right? And now soften the knee. Pull the belly in, draw the ribs down, grab the high leg if you feel comfortable. And that should just be this gentle opening across the top of that hip. Maybe you don't even feel anything. Maybe you don't feel anything. And even with your knee relaxed, the foot still doesn't touch the floor. That's a sign of a really tight hip flexor. So don't force it, but just know that with a soft, relaxed knee, ideally your foot would find the floor. Couple more seconds. All right, the extended leg, bring it up. Now, both legs are up. You feel pretty comfortable? Your legs, you're going to try to roll them a little bit side to side. Here's the tricky part. I already know that my foam is a little bit too low, so I'm going to make an adjustment. All right, I'm going to put it up just a little bit higher. And I know that because when I roll from side to side, I should actually feel those two little bony aspects on the back of the hip line. Those are your SI joints, okay? The foam should be, or I should say your SI joints should be resting on the foam. And as you roll to the side, you kind of feel a little bit of sensitivity, right? And if the foam is too high or too low, you'll miss the actual massage for the SI joint. If your foam is really small, then you might use your hand to stop the leg roll so that you don't feel like you're going to go too far. But the more comfortable you are, you'll be able to roll all the way from side to side. It's not about what you should be able to do. I'm not setting this expectation that if you can't get yourself rolled all the way to the side, that something's wrong. You roll on the foam the way that it keeps you feeling like you're in control and there's no fear. Okay, that's really important. Come back to the center, bring the feet down. I want you to lift your hips. You don't just lift the hips though, right? We draw the middle down and squeeze the derriere to get off the foam so that you can slide it out from under you. And now once you come down, stretch the legs out, give them that little shake, shaky shake. Here we go. So this is actually your next thing. Your head's comfortable. Maybe if your little pillow's back there, you just drag it so that your head has a little bit of a prop. Can you take your shoulder blades and tuck them under you so that your palms are comfortably turned up and the arms are floating on a downward angle away from you? And the legs are just in pitter patter calves, pushing, alternating, beating on the floor. So yesterday when we were in our low impact and toning, right, I had you standing and we were doing calf little heel pumps to create the same sensation, right? Today, we're just in a lying position. Now, can you actually beat the legs faster? The legs are not lifting and lowering together. It's alternating, right? You're not squeezing anything. You're just shaking, shaking away, right? It's actually really challenging to go faster, right? Here we go. Kick it up. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6. What could be the benefit of this? Cut. Whew. You should feel your circulation in such a fabulous way where your body's like, I hope it's got some tingling but like a really good feeling just swept over you, right? Okay. Ease yourself around, push yourself up. Where's your stretch out strap? Stretch out strap and ball. Okay. First, the ball though. You may opt for your foam roller. I don't know. Okay. The intensity of what's going to happen with the ball may be too much, but I want you to think under and right behind the knee. Put that on the ball. I would say bend the non-treating leg so that you've got some control here. Now, the thing about your ball, the movement is going to be really small or your leg just flops right off the ball. But often we don't think about these things that connect and tie in behind the knee, right? And I don't want to get too technical, but just know that from the lower limb and from the back of the thigh, there's a crossover pattern that connects and stabilizes these two parts that need to work together. And so often where the connection crosses is where things get really knotty. Okay. So now it looks like I'm just trying to scooch my body, and that's all I'm doing, right? So my hands are supporting me, shoulders out of the ears, and I'm just going back and forth with it. Wow. Now, maybe you haven't hit the spot. I'm on my spot. Do you need to kind of cock the hips a little bit so that the leg can rotate out the foot when you look at your foot? This would be one of those few times that I encourage you to have it go for a little swivel. You're going to find it. Wait for it, okay? Move really like subtly with the hips slightly cocked and the foot turned out, and see if you can't get yourself to this wide-eyed realization that something back there just before it meets, just behind the knee, but slightly off center, is a smidgen tight. Are you on it? Ha. So this is a strange thing, right? Because it's the nuances. And if you're not feeling what I'm describing, don't worry about it, right? Maybe it's so intense that literally the ball is too much. And then I would say use the foam roller, okay? Because that will displace the weight in a different way. It'll make it feel different. Are your wrists like going, oh, please stop already? Come down on your elbow, transition if you need to. When you're down on your elbow, it'll just be a little less intense, right? Because the body angle, this is more load than this, okay? So, ooh, pop right over it. Now, we don't want to agitate these little spots, so it's not like we're going to do any more than that. Release and relax. It's weird, right? You would never think to take your hand and like grab that spot and massage it, but yet when you put the ball back there, right? Like you could even try it on the other side with just your hand pushing and palpitating. Do you feel anything? All I feel is my hand. But as soon as we put a little bit of specific treatment part, right? All right, here we go. Aha! It's like shocking. It, here's when I would love to like be able to see you all and just be able to watch your facial expressions, because I want to think that you are also in this discovery mode of like, wow, like a- how how fascinating is your own body to you? And maybe even more importantly, how can we be so disconnected and unknowing about these parts that with just a smidgen of pressure in a certain spot creates this sensation that is beyond just a pinpoint of where you're connected. It, for me, I'm on it, and not to be discouraged by how sensitive it is, but it just reminds me, wow, so as I derail my thought, with my leg just resting on the spot because I have found the spot, my leg is actually, I'm not moving it, but my leg on its own is like doing this. It's crazy. I'm trying to not hold tension in it, trying to let the weight of my leg get the benefit of isolated treatment, and yet it's running a little bit. I'm getting a few inches of sensation above where the ball is and a few inches of sensation below. And now relax. Phew, release and relax. Okay. Let me direct your attention back to the foam roller. And as soon as you guys see where I'm going with this, so many of you who have worked one-on-one with me will go, oh man, I forgot about that one. You know this little aspect of the shoulder that you have right here? I always refer to it as this little triangular patch, okay? Think about that, right? How do you put that on your foam roller? Just like that. What does your arm want to do? Does your arm want to go in line with the foam? You know, your head is really heavy, so we've got to get ready to support it. But I want you to take the arm that you're treating, and I want you to imagine that someone's standing above your headline, and they're gently helping you stretch your arm. And now, take your free hand, wrap it around your head. What are your legs going to do? Well, we need to use our feet to help brace. So open the knees, try to put your feet on the floor, which will make your hips a little kind of cockeyed. And now lift your bum, right? And say, oh, this can't be good for me. Like maybe the intensity is so intense that you're thinking, there's no way that foam rolling this could actually be good for me because what I feel is so intense that I need to stop because I'm going to hurt myself. If that rolled through your brain, set your hips down, just let your arm rest on it, and remember that cross fibering. You roll in and you roll back. And now, if you haven't yet found the precise spot, then you just kind of keep working it. You will find it. Okay. For me, I'm able to get my hips up, draw the chin to the chest, support. I can roll all the way down just below my shoulder blade. Okay. But my shoulders are used to being treated. Okay. So I'm a little more pliable up there. You find your spot. This really tight spot wreaks havoc on our shoulders, believe it or not. Okay. So now we don't want to do too much. Touchdown. Swivel. Okay. I just want to remind you, even in flexibility and treatment class, your body, think about the supporting role that the rest of your body gets to help you with. So we have the one part that's actually trying to get this treatment. And if you find the right spot, right, and you support your body the right way, then you're seeking, if you were trying to rate your discomfort, okay, and you're trying to go, at what point should I back out of it and try to seek a different placement because it's so intense. If you on a scale rating of 1 to 5, 5 being like, oh my gosh, it's so painful. We don't want to be in the oh my gosh, it's so painful zone, because at that point your body is so tensed, it can't receive the benefit. Okay. That is my opinion. I didn't read that anywhere. Okay. But what I do know is that we want to be somewhere in the 2 and 3 zone of, okay, I'm a little uncomfortable, right? So let that dictate whether or not you're just pressing into the foam. Are you just trying to open your arm up? Or are you actually going after it, trying to roll? So you do not want to be in 5 zone. A few more seconds here. Now release, relax, push yourself up. So the reminder was going to be that when we're stretching one part, the rest of your body is really in a supporting act. And that's why every time you go, when you, whether it's flexibility or you're doing actual lifting, everything turns into full body recruitment. And as long as you remind yourself that, you should never have to feel like you're not hitting certain parts of your body, because there are parts of you that are getting activated even when you're unaware of it. Okay, so now where are we going? From the base of your cervical spine to the base of your thoracic spine. That's where we're treating. So start by leaning back. Again, it doesn't matter if you don't need the 3-foot foam. You just need it to be enough for your body to get on it, right? Head support. Some of you probably didn't even know that you needed this. And I hope that now that we're doing it, you're like, oh, I wouldn't have picked this for myself today, but clearly I need it. Here we go. Lift the hips just enough so that you can walk your feet forward and start leaning your body back into the foam. Your head, chin pulls away from your chest because now your hands are supporting your head. Even if you have a bum shoulder that doesn't like this position, you just keep your good arm in its work mode and you take the other arm out of the equation. Now, if you're looking at the screen going, okay, going along, your feet need to move with you as you roll back. How low do you go? You go just to the part where you're under your scapulas. If you go further, it's not that you can't, but there's no real reason for it. We have so little like fat and not skin, but fat. We're thinner through that lumbar area. And so we don't tend to roll the lumbar, but you're going to walk yourself forward enough so that the neck is on the foam with the hips just barely lifted. And right now you should be staring at the ceiling if you're in line with me. And then with your hips barely lifted, start pushing yourself so that the foam travels down the back. You're leaving your head tilted back with your head supported by your hands so we don't burrow the chin into the chest, right? And as soon as you feel yourself go right under your wings, start your forward walk again. There are times when I see people do this in the gym where they don't move their feet, their head and shoulders pull up and their hips dip down and their legs practically fully extend. This is not the way to treat your thoracic spine, okay? We're trying to get our body to bow back over the foam. This is how we open ourselves up. So when you're foam, this is what we're going to finish with the foam rolling, okay? When you push back and you get your foam under your shoulder blades or kind of nearing the end of your push, that's when I want you to set your butt on the floor. And if you're looking at the screen, okay, what I want you to do is I want you to take your chin. It is in a slight tuck, not cranked down, just a slight tuck, and you're going to let your upper body rock back as if you were setting up for a crunch. Okay, so your head doesn't float back. Your chin is controlled and in. The upper body is open back. The butt is on the floor. And here's the next piece of your equation. Pull your belly button into you and do a smidgen of a pelvic tilt. The pelvic tilt is what keeps you out of excessive S, and the pelvic tilt is what allows the thoracic spine to actually get the stretch on it. See, we would think that the stretch is when we're in a forward fold, but the thoracic spine tends to have a rounded forward curve to it. So by us opening ourselves up and bending and bowing backwards, we're actually working on our posture right now. Draw the elbows in, let the chin come towards the chest, right? At some point, you should feel like you don't need your hands anymore. Get yourself off of your phone. Whew. When you come off of that position, so the more rounded your back is, the less comfortable it will feel to roll that spot. And so now, right? Now we're going to move into our band. I want you to think IT band. Okay. Get your body squared up. If you have one of these elastic bands, then I want you to use it, right? If you've got just your traditional stretch out strap, then you're going to use that. Okay. Loop a foot. Actually, I'm going to loop my other foot. Okay. IT band. How do we stretch the IT band? And Marlene, I know you love this one because I recall so many times at the Sheridan giving you this one. I'm slightly joking because it's very intense. All right, here, what do? Your non-banded leg is going to just slide away from the banded leg. Now, don't take it as far as it can go because that's too far, right? Just about half of what you think the leg can actually move away. So just start the slide. It's only to get the leg off center, okay? I'm picking up my head because I like to watch my foot move. Raise the banded leg, draw the ankles across one another, and then you're going to take your bent banded leg, fully extend that leg, and watch the foot turn in and lengthen that leg, squeeze the buns, and try to now get your back hip line flush to the floor, shoulders flat, back body in neutral, and yet your legs are off center. The feet are in pigeon toe position. And you're trying to take this stretch and push the foot into the band to lengthen. And what hand should be holding the band? The opposite hand to that leg grabs the band for anchoring. Your job is to squeeze your buns to shimmy the hip line to be neutral. And once you feel like you've secured that, then you don't have to keep your buns tight. You're going to redirect your energy to making sure that your banded leg actually is lengthened and you're driving the stretch all the way to your heel. And if you want more, the arm that goes with your banded leg can stay on the floor and just glide it up, 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 up so that your body is in like this bowed crescent shaped position. For me, it's only when I get my arm kind of above my shoulder line that I feel this aspect at the hip. But what I know is I know how to position my shoulder blades so that I don't create a cramp or what feels like a muscle spasm under that shoulder blade. So if you incorporate this arm and you immediately feel like your back going, not low back, it'll be upper back, upper thoracic. If you feel something weird in your upper thoracic, don't fight it. Just let the arm come down and the muscles will relax. Okay. But I want to draw your attention back to your banded leg. Push that leg, push it into the band, lengthen it, and do whatever you can do with your arm. And now squeeze your buns again. It's intense. And now relax your parts. Whew. Feet, ankles, relax. Okay. I want you to bend your banded leg because you're going to help that foot up and back to the mat. Take the other leg, bend it, bring it back to the mat. Slowly pelvic tilt so you feel your lumbar flatten out, squeeze the derriere, do your little bridge, adjust your neck. And now bring the hips back down. Okay. Maybe the feet go up so that you can transition your band to the other leg. Down you go. You know me. I'm going to support my head. I'm going to look at my feet. I want to watch that leg slide off to the side. I'm going to bring the other leg up. In order for me to get my leg where it needs to be, my banded leg needs to bend in order for me to get it across. And once I get it across, then I start the straightening process of it. Pinching buns, right? Pelvic tilting, trying to wiggle the hips to their flat line. And I'm still watching my feet because I need to make sure that my feet turn away from each other, which is internal rotation. That's the tricky part, right? So now, opposite hand is anchoring the band. I can bring my head back to the floor and I'm going to spend a few more seconds kind of wiggling my hips a little bit to really make sure that my back line is nice and flat. All right, here we go. Lengthen the leg, the foot is flexed, the toes are turned in, the legs are fully engaged, and I'm pressing my heel on my banded leg away. So I feel it's called traction. I feel like when I push my foot into the band, I'm creating space at the hip line. That's where the stretch happens. Keep your buns tight. If you can add your arm, up sweep it. When you up sweep the arm, reset the leg length, okay? And if anything starts going awry, you'd offload the pressure and you stop pushing against the band, you bring your arm down and you let your body kind of resettle itself, right? So here we go. We're going to hold this for 5 more seconds, pressing, lengthening, 5, 4, 3, 2, stop pushing. Bring the arm out of it. You can release the band enough so that you don't have any tension, relaxing the ankles, let your belly kind of go, whew, that was like intense. Sometimes we like hold that tension in our belly and you don't even realize that you've got that fight mode going on, right? When we feel things that are quite extreme, we internalize that kind of into our system. Not only do we pull our shoulders up to our ears, it's like this protective thing, but it then transfers down into your belly. So just let that relax. Start working this leg up, set the foot back on the floor, bend the other leg, both feet are on your mat, and you should feel like your body's a little cockeyed right now, right? So we're going to pull the navel in, peel and squeezing the buns up from the floor, reestablishing your neutral position with your neck, and just hold your bridge for a moment. If you've got your neck properly supported and your head, sitting in the right spot, you're kind of scanning your front body.
Don't lift your hips so high that all you see is your chest and your ribs. I want you to lower your hips so that you can draw the ribs down and then peel the hip bones, like it's called a tip. Tip the hip bones in and up to the waist so you feel your buns kind of rocker right under. And that's how you fire them up and offload stress from the lumbar. Settle the hips down. So you just leave this leg banded because we're going to do our next thing with it. All right, the leg goes up. Stretch the other leg out. You are going to take your leg in both directions, right? And there is a little dance that gets to happen when you transition at the middle. The other arm takes the band, open the free arm out to the side, rock over, sweep it up, transition the arms. One holds the band, and the arm that holds the band, you actually pull on it so that your elbow can hit the floor, and that's what helps you brace. And then if you need to bend the leg to get it up so that you don't feel like you're straining, that's absolutely fine. Just remember to re-straighten it, transition the other hand to the band. When the arm reaches for the band, did your shoulder just pike up to your ear? Get it down. Open the free arm, start pulling on the band because you want the leg to come towards you. Let the elbow find the floor. Right? Bend the leg. You might as well. I don't want you to feel like you're straining as you're rolling from side to side. Re-straighten the leg, reach the hand up the band, get the shoulder out of the ear, engage the bicep. That's how you get your shoulder out of the ear. You take your lat, you slide it down, and you bend your arm, and you let your bicep pull on that band so the elbow can find the floor and the leg can move out. Bend the leg. It makes it easier, right? Re-straighten the leg, switch arms, shoulder out of the ear, arm pulls, right? Glide it over. Doesn't that feel fabulous? Bend the leg. You got one more to each side. Up, trade the hands, arm open, shoulders out of the ears, bicep loads. What if you can't get your leg straight, right? Because when you straighten your leg and you pull it to the side, the leg goes way away from your shoulder. If you're putting you're like, I don't know what the problem is. I can get my foot all the way on the floor. The problem would be that you want the leg to be perpendicular to your body. You don't want this tight angle down there between the legs. You want as much space from one foot to the next foot. That's your stretch. Okay. All right. Bend the leg, bring it up. This is your last one for this side. The arm goes up, but the shoulders pull down. So for me, when my shoulders pull down, my hand actually slides on the band a little bit in order to get my shoulders where they need to be, right? And the stretch. This is just such a fabulous stretch. Your whole rump, this whole big rump, right? All the way down to the hamstring, all the way up into the QL. That's what you're treating right now. All of that. Bend the leg, offload the pressure. Ready? Switch the feet. Take a moment once you get the feet exchanged to recenter the hips and then let the leg go flat. Now, this leg that's flat, is it really flat? Is your calf touching the floor? Because if it's not, that's nothing that you can fix right now. But if your leg is bowed up like this and your calf isn't anywhere close to touching the floor, you have a tight hip flexor. So, for whatever it's worth, lengthen the legs, but don't force it down. We're going to float this side to side, shoulders out of the ears, your hand slides. Maybe you're taking repetition number 1 with a bent leg because you're just exploring space and sensation. Transition up, Crossover, you do not have to have your leg fully extended for you to get the benefit, right? I know most of us are tight through the hamstring. So as you come across the body, you just extend the leg to whatever degree allows you to have the rest of your parts doing the right thing, right? Bend the leg, no more strain. Re-straighten the leg if that's what you're going for. Slide the shoulders out of the ears, the elbow finds the floor, and then your leg glides. Bend the leg up, trade the arm, shoulders out of the ears, cross body stretch. Go, oh man, I'm so glad we're doing this today, right? Bend the leg, up you go. You've got your routine set for you right now. Find your rhythm. Don't get hung up in either body position. Just float side to side. I want you to do one more each direction. When you get to this cross body stretch, you're going to hold it for a few extra seconds, okay? So if your far shoulder is like not on the floor and that arm is just in the air and stressing the shoulder, bend the arm, bring it to you because I don't want the fight to be over there. I want you to put all your attention right there in the leg. Just hang on to this for a few seconds. Remember that zone of trying to figure out if you're at the right spot of intensity. We don't want to be at the 5 zone. The 5 zone, all the red flags are going, right? The alarm bells are going. Your body is saying, when are you going to stop this? When are you going to stop this? And if that's what your body's saying, then you haven't been able to actually receive the benefit. So you want to back out of the stretch to a degree by just bending your leg that allows you to receive the stretch and still feel like you're protecting yourself. Okay, so we want to be in the 2 to 3 zone of intensity. Soften the knee, bring yourself back to neutral, right? You are going to do one last bridge. So just the bridging just gets your body out of that cockeyed position, right? Belly to spine, ribs anchor down, start peeling the hips off the floor. I would rather your bridge be really, really low and be spot on than for you to have such a high hip thrust where you're collapsing this lower back and your chin is pushing so hard into your chest, or your neck for that matter is even in the wrong spot. Like sometimes when I watch people bridge, I'm going to show you this because this is my body's warmed up and I can do it wrong and not hurt myself. But when I watch people bridge, it scares me for them because I realize that all they're doing, you still are working your muscles, but the risk of pinching that low back is so there that I'm like, it's such a hard thing to teach posturing. Take your hands, put them around your rib cage, right? And then lower the hips just a little bit and see if you can actually glide, because it starts at the chest. Glide the ribs towards your waist. How do you bring the rib down? It's an internal action that the body has to take. And as soon as you decrease the space from the base of the rib to the waistline, somehow miraculously, the tailbone actually goes into the right spot. And then what you see is out in front of you instead of your mounded trunk. Bring the hips down, roll to the side. This is what we finish with. It's going to be our cobra press away. Okay. So if you have another, say, 60 seconds to stay with me, everything we've done so far, right, minus the foam rolling, has been on our back. So to put our bodies in this
bowed back position now. Your body may protest a little bit, but it's absolutely necessary. Separate the feet, try to push the tops of the feet flat to the floor. As you're feeling your legs, make sure that your quadricep, the front top center of the quad, is pushing into the floor. Don't let the kneecaps roll one way or the other. And that's why you guys will always see me kind of wiggling my hips and stretching my legs and pressing my feet down, because I have to keep encouraging my parts to be precisely where I know they're supposed to be. And I'm in charge of that. Shoulders out of the ears, hands and elbows, right? Comfortably wide. This might be as far as you get. If you're going to go further, press into the hands. If you meet resistance right here and you can't get your arms fully extended, come back down and move the elbows forward just a little bit more, right? Shoulders out of the ears, buns tight, feet pushing, press away from the floor. There we go. Just hang on to this for 5, 4, 3, 2. Easy does it down. Tucking the elbows in, start walking your body back, rounding spine, releasing the head position, coming up to your hands. Your body just naturally went right into cat back, and then stub the toes, come out of your cat back just enough to start pushing into downward dog. I love to have my feet nice and wide because I don't like to fight to get my hands walking me back so that my feet have got me balanced. And then the roll up. And then the arms up for inhale. Release and relax. Job well done. All right, you guys are troopers as usual. You never know what I'm going to throw at you, and you just keep persevering.